Back when I used to deal with the cartels, we used to go down to Mexico and we'd see the cartel guys and they would have pallets of money. I also remember looking at them and seeing how stressed they were all the time.
Haram money does not give fulfillment. You know, the cartels, they might have their gold AKs and their brothers around them. Not a single man can they fully trust the way we can trust someone who's properly on the deen.
You know, they say you can't get off heroin. Many doctors said once you're hooked, it's like a death sentence. I know a brother in San Diego, and he said, you know, nothing would calm my body except halal. He said, I would lock myself in a room, my body would be shaking, I would feel like it's being ripped apart. He said, but when I put my head down in sujood, I would feel at peace.
So if I can go from being someone in a Western military who views the Middle East as a scary place and Muslims as potentially the boogeyman, to then accepting Islam, there must be something there.
Sheikh Uthman, Daji.
Yusuf, we
I
back.
heard a little something about this next podcast.
He's on the hook, huh?
I heard we're taking it on the road, or should I say, the water.
Yep, we're going to be doing this on a yacht. And when people see you on a yacht, they think, oh my God, these guys are wasting money, astaghfirullah. But that's not how it is. Like our brother Saituro, as you know, mashallah, this brother's on the deen. Like, he prays 5 times a day, gives a lot of sadaqah. Man, he's always trying to make da'wah content. And he's using his wealth and influence for good. And that's very, very important in the ummah today, to understand the balance between letting wealth distract you from the akhirah or using your wealth for building your akhirah.
What are some practical steps I can take to getting there?
Our brother Ammar Sultan, who has Muslimpreneur, link is below, check it out. And like we said before, he's going to give a free class, absolutely free, just for the people watching the D3 podcast. And now, let's get back to that yacht.
Let's do it.
Indeed. And the intent today to do a chat on a yacht, something a bit different, to show that you can be Muslim and still enjoy life, unlike a lot of the false conceptions that are out there.
That's very
misconceptions.
true. You know, we have a lot of haters out there that just because, you know, they have a jealousy, and because of their jealousy, they just have to hate on everything, you know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make this life for us to be miserable, right?
Exactly.
This is the beauty of Islam. We're not monks. You know, there's a beautiful hadith. Umar ibn Khattab, one time he was going in Sham, in the area of Syria today, and they told him about a Christian monk that sits in a tower and all he does is pray, and he doesn't eat anything and he doesn't speak to anybody, and people bring him some food and he just survives off that, and he's never going to get married, you know, the vows, celibacy and silence and all that. And Umar started crying, and they thought, Umar has been affected by this monk's worship. Umar said, no, it's not that. He said, I'm crying because this man ruined his dunya and ruined his akhirah. He ruined his worldly life. He didn't enjoy anything in this life. And he ruined his hereafter.
Isn't that wild? And I'd say, having reverted 2 years ago and changed, I enjoy life more now. What can't you do as a Muslim? You can still have amazing experiences in halal way. You can still have stronger brotherhood. I think you have better relationships with wives and with family members because you're more aware of the value of and how you should treat your family members. We can still eat well. We can still drive cars.
We can dress well, obviously.
We can dress well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to see His bounty on His slaves. He wants us to dress well.
Beautiful hadith. That's the beautiful thing about Islam. You enjoy life, but within that which is good for you.
Exactly.
See, when you look at people that get drunk or do drugs and trying to enjoy it, they harm themselves.
Exactly.
For us, we drink tea, we drink all kinds of beautiful juices, we drink all kinds of other things that are not going to harm our bodies, coffee, whatever else you want to drink that's healthy. You eat good food, you eat meat. We're not Hindus, we're not sitting around, you know, malnutrition because we don't have any.
I ate a lot.
We're going to get you canceled today.
Let's go. I ate a lot of steak, I really do.
I love steak. I love steak, man. Hindus, if they had to pick a god that tasted better, it would be a hard one to pick.
That's a tricky one. I do feel sorry for them in that regard.
I do feel sorry for them
but
too.
But what you're talking about with the energetic thing, and I'm not sure how okay this is within an Islamic context, and I don't want to sound like a hippie, but there's a certain energetic frequency in rooms and with people.
That is true.
And in activities. For example, I can't even walk into a nightclub now because I feel how low energy it is. I don't want to be around people who are doing drugs or, hurting themselves because I feel it's low energy. And the same with zina. When even guys who have lots and lots of, constant zina, you can feel that it affects their energy. You can feel that they themselves have some sort of issue behind that. No healthy spirited person needs to just run all around town, exposing himself to strange energies and diseases and all these things. So
it's very true. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, "Al-mar'u ala dini khalili." a person is upon the religion of his friends, you know. And that's
that.
when you think about that, people think, well, why? I mean, I'm whatever Christian, even if my friends aren't. If I'm Muslim, even if my friends are doing whatever. But the reality is it affects you.
Sure.
When you're in that environment, there is a spiritual effect. There is a physical temptation that comes into it. There is a effect you take that even sitting in places where there is haram has been forbidden.
Really, and that's the best example I give of this. I mean, neuroscientists talk about some sort of energetic or emotional economy. We're tribe animals. We feel what our fellow humans feel. If you sit on a subway in somewhere like London, going into work, that commute, you feel the energy is down, everyone's a bit semi-depressed, you'll get brought down too. Same with being around that which is haram. It's not going to help you, even if, let's say, I know some guys who are like, oh, I do lots of zina, but you know, I do it safely. What safely? If I can speak plainly, using condoms doesn't help you from energetic pollution. If there is jinn in someone and you are intimate with that someone, condom doesn't stop you collecting that. It's real, right? Like
and the thing is, you're killing your spirituality. People forget there is a body and then there's a ruh in Islam. We know there is a soul. And even if you look at dead body, it has eyes, it has a brain, it has ears. What's the spark that's missing is that soul. And that soul has nourishment. That's why as Muslims, when we eat, we say Bismillah. And when we go to the bathroom, we ask Allah to protect us, right? Because we're protecting the spiritual aspect of it.
Interesting. I like that.
Nutrients that come to your body from the physical aspect is one thing, but the spiritual aspect is another. That's why sins drain your spiritual energy.
It's real.
And there's a lot of Quran and Hadith on this. And that's why when you look at a Muslim who's living a halal life, Allah blesses them. I'll tell you a beautiful hadith, because we got a lot of haters out there.
Okay, well, there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of hate at the moment. My goodness.
I got a guy that takes snapshots of what shoes I'm wearing.
Amazing. I mean, that sounds like something else, man. That sounds like a fan. The sort of fan you don't want.
I think he's a little too obsessed there. So there is a time Uthman ibn Affan, of course, you know, the great companion, and he was very wealthy. He was somebody that Allah blessed with a lot of wealth, and he used to give a lot of charity. And every time he would give charity, Allah would give him more, and he would get it back through, you know, Allah blessing him in his life. So in this worldly life, he lived a really good life. He was married, he had many kids, he had multiple wives, he had a lot of properties, and he would spend very generously. And you know, because Allah is the one that controls the rizq, Allah would bring it back to him. So one Jewish man came to him and said that your prophet said, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir," that the world is the prison for the believer and the paradise for the disbeliever. He said, but how could that be if you're living a good life and I'm broke, you know? I don't know what Jews broke, but anyway. So he said, you know, because I'm not making money, I'm poorer than you, and you're living a good life. So how could that be? So Uthman ibn Affan told him, you didn't understand the hadith. He said, this dunya is a prison for the believer because paradise is so beautiful.
So much better.
And so much better. And such beautiful experiences, seeing your Lord, being with your family, never having sickness, living an everlasting, wonderful life is so beautiful that no matter how much wealth you have for the believer, he's wanting to go to paradise. This is the prison holding him back.
Beautiful.
It doesn't mean that life for the believer will suck in this life. No, that's not the meaning of the hadith. And he said, for the disbeliever, the punishment of hell is so bad. It's such a horrible destination that no matter how difficult this life is, it's a paradise compared to what's in the hereafter.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So the Muslim should live well. He should be financially secure. The Prophet ﷺ told us the hand that gives is better than the one that takes. So every Muslim should strive not to beg, not to ask others, to be independent. There is a dua I always make. I don't ask Allah for money. I don't ask for Ferraris or any. I said, oh Allah, never make me in need of anybody but you.
Beautiful. No attachment in the physical world.
That's
really,
it.
It's a noble thing. It's very interesting you say that, Sheikh. I really appreciate their share. These sorts of contexts, it's funny. I get a lot of people who are considering Islam and they say, do I read the Quran or what do I do? What I say is, listen to brothers who know the deen speaking, because there's more context there.
Exactly.
Ideally, if you can have a face-to-face conversation with a brother who's well-read, to me that's the most powerful way to really discover Islam. Because having been in the region for 15 years, read all I've read, you're still, every time I sit with you, giving me context, which adds to my understanding. So really, may everybody who's seeking this faith come across good brothers who are well-read, who can give that context. Very valuable, thank you. And what you're saying in terms of doing well, Allah loves the strong believer more than the weak believer. And we live in an age now where it's not about picking up a spear and throwing it at somebody. What is strength as a man? We need to provide and protect.
Yes.
What ties into the modern day version of providing and protecting? A lot of it is economic. So that's our duty to be capable economically, as long as we don't worship money, which unfortunately a lot of people do on this planet.
Yes.
And that's shirk, and it's very empty shirk, as we know. I know it from my old line of work. I know a lot of ultra high net worth individuals. Yes, they are comfortable, but they do not have a life that I'd swap with.
No.
They don't have good brothers around them.
No.
They don't have real connection with something higher than them and understanding of how they should live with their life. Often their relationships with their wife or however else they do it is an absolute mess.
Yes.
I said it before, I'll say it again. A brother who is working in meaningful day-to-day work and has good brothers around him and has a strong connection with his deen, has his physical fitness right, that's a more fulfilled day-to-day existence than most of the ultra-wealthy people out there.
You know, I'll tell you my own experience. I work in the medical device industry, so I don't take money from the mosque or any of that. I want to give to the mosque. I don't want to take from the mosque, right? So what I do is I take on consulting gigs right now, contracts. So I used to work for a company. My boss used to make 4 times my salary. Like on paper, his salary was 4 times mine. One day we were just sitting, and we were close, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Nobody in America is debt free." So I told him, "You know what? I'm debt free."
Nice.
And he told me, "No, you're not." I told him, "Yes, I am." He told me, "Your house is on a mortgage. You're not debt free." I said, "My house is not on a mortgage. I bought my house cash." Right?
Beautiful.
And San Diego, that's not easy to do, right? He was shocked. He told me there is no way. I told him, "Yeah." He told me, "What about your car?" I said, "I bought my car's cash. Everything that I have, I've bought cash. I don't owe anybody any money." He told me, "You know what? My house is on mortgage. My cars are on mortgage." He goes, "If I am late one paycheck, everything I have is gone."
Well, incredible stress. I can understand why
It's
riba
a
is looked down. It is modern day slavery. It
Yeah.
really is. I can also say, wallahi, I'm 100% riba free.
Alhamdulillah.
It will limit how you live. I could have a much bigger house or a bunch more toys, which I wouldn't even drive.
Right.
But that freedom of being self-sufficient, which, as I understand it in our faith, it is sunnah, or is at least encouraged to be an independent trader, to be independent of any overlords. And riba is the ultimate modern day slavery.
No doubt.
I see why we are encouraged to be free from that, because even if you have less material possessions or a smaller house, you'll be more comfortable in your heart as you go to bed at night. You'll sleep better at night.
So a lot of people are online trying to get rich or trying to make it, but they think the way to do that is to go to these online platforms and get these guys that'll tell them, take a loan from here and do this and cheat here and do this and I'll show you how to get rich quick and all this. But tell me this, before Islam and now, financially, how are you?
It's very interesting. I've undergone a real change in the last 2 years. And a lot of that comes down to realizing that I get more fulfillment from putting my head on the ground in sujood in the masjid
Allahu
than I
Akbar.
do from a new Ferrari.
That's
really,
beautiful.
wallahi, it's so clear to me. So it made me think, why do I have all these cars? In the last 6 months, I've sold 2 Ferraris, I sold my AMG, sold my jet ski, sold one of my drift cars. I'm looking at downsizing my house because I'm like, I sold most of my watches. I had over $1 million in watches. I've sold most of them because I wasn't wearing them. I was like, what is this capital sitting there?
What's the point?
It's when you realize there's greater fulfillment from reading about our faith, from talking to brothers about the faith, and from knowing that I'm living as humans are meant to live. You don't need all the stuff.
That's
Now,
true.
I still enjoy the experience of, for example, pushing a car on track.
Yeah,
I love
why not?
drifting. I like the experience, but just ownership for the sake of ownership. For example, watches being a great example. It does zero. I was waiting for a specific watch, the platinum, what's known as the Patona, the Rolex Daytona. I was waiting for years for it. I was one of the first people in Dubai to be given this watch from the authorized distributor.
Wow.
You need to build relationships. I've spent
It's not easy to get to.
well over $1 million with the authorized distributor. When that watch came, I felt no buzz.
Wow.
I felt no buzz, and I was like, I would have been happy for weeks a few years ago.
Yeah.
But now, because I know what a deeper fulfillment feels like,
Wow.
something as simple as putting my head on the ground,
Right? But that's a spiritual enrichment that you have.
it's an interesting one. It wasn't a conscious thing. I didn't consciously think, right, I want to examine my relationship with possessions or with wealth. Naturally, through getting closer to the deen, I just realized I don't need all the stuff. I don't need all the physical stuff because it doesn't hit the same when I know that there's a superior way of feeling complete, real, deep fulfillment that has nothing to do with how much you own.
And financially, you're still doing good?
I'd say I'm doing better, which is
Better.
very interesting.
Wow. So that's interesting.
It is. I'd say, especially with some of the investments that I've made and some of the deals that I've put together, I feel since I stopped believing in luck, I've become the luckiest person I know.
But that's beautiful. So you stop chasing the worldly life,
Big
and
time,
now
yeah.
financially you're better, spiritually you're better.
Mm-hmm.
You don't believe in luck,
Yeah.
but you've become the luckiest man around, right? How beautiful is that?
It is beautiful. And I have a theory as to why everything's working out. I think my niyyah has changed. Instead of coming from a place of, oh, I need this new car, oh, craving for that new watch, because I genuinely don't care about those things.
Right.
The niyyah that I take into my business dealings and into my investments is simply, all right, if this works, great. If it doesn't work, great. I like those people. I like this product. I'm going to get behind it, as opposed to, I need return on this money.
Yeah.
It's as the niyyah changes, so does the outcome. It's a very interesting
That's
thing.
the whole thing. Intention, as the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. Every deed is based upon the intention, and everybody gets what they intend. Now that's a very interesting hadith.
I haven't heard that before.
Oh, it's a beautiful hadith. This is the first hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari,
Okay.
and in Riyadh al-Salihin and books like that. And the depth of this hadith, most people miss.
Yeah.
That's to
See, I would have read it, but it didn't grip me like it did when you just said it. Interesting.
the point that you made earlier about context, right? So every deed is based upon intention, and everybody gets what they intend. So people assume these two lines mean the same thing, but they don't. So every deed is based upon the intention. So for example, if you intend that you want to help somebody for the sake of Allah, then that deed is for the sake of Allah. Allah will give you the reward, not just this worldly, gain.
It's interesting you say that. If you allow me to
Yeah, of
interrupt,
course.
Sheikh, my whole major amazement in terms of business has come from my little tailor shop. I set that up as a fun project. It was really meant to be a majlis with the boys. It has become the single busiest tailor shop by a big margin in the whole of the country
Wow.
from day one. It's remarkable.
Shout out. What's the name of the shop?
Custom Made Reality.
Custom Made Reality. I have actually gotten a suit there, which I'm going to be picking up tonight, inshallah.
It's our honor. It's our honor, Sheikh. Thank you.
It's amazing.
Habibi, thank you. I mean, and I went into that, to your point, as solely, let's have fun, let's help brothers to look good and feel good, let's make it a positive networking space where you walk in, you get uplifted.
Yeah,
it's a space where there's a lot of mentoring. We have a prayer room that has a bunch of leaflets on Islam.
Alhamdulillah,
Like
alhamdulillah,
the
beautiful.
niyyah behind it, the intent was, let's win together and create a good community vibe, and also encourage men to level up.
Yeah.
How many spaces are there that are sort of interesting for Instagram and flashy, but also have that underlying message of it's not just about clothes, it's here to level up, and it's worked. That to me is proof, if you will, or a case study that if you set a certain intent,
Right.
and really your intent is such that I'm not doing this for me, or I'm not trying to squeeze profit, I just want to produce something positive to give a benefit to anyone who walks in. Even if come in for a game of pool, you'll feel uplifted by the brothers around you.
It's a beautiful environment.
And it's pumping. It's
Yeah.
an actual business. I had to hire an accountant at one point. I was disappointed. I was like, this wasn't meant to be a business. This
I was
meant
just
be
trying to
fun.
have some fun.
Exactly.
See, but that's the second part of the hadith, that everybody will get what they intend. So when you go into a business and your intent isn't to rip people off, your intent isn't just to make money, your intent is, look, I want to go and have a good environment for brothers to come, to be the best versions of themselves,
Amen.
to learn manlyhood, to be around good men, then Allah blesses you with the wealth that you got, because again, you're doing it halal, you're doing it the right way. You're not using riba, you're not using interest, you're not cheating, you're not lying. And on top of that, Allah blesses it with more coming back to you spiritually in a way. I mean, many businesses have tried to make gimmicks here in Dubai with tailor shops. I know people.
Yep.
But why was yours successful? Because the cleanliness of your intention.
Really. And even people who don't have any sort of connection with faith yet,
Yeah.
may Allah guide them,
I mean,
they'll walk in and say they feel an energy in the shop.
Yeah.
They just feel that it uplifts them, which is quite amazing. It's funny, I think a lot of men, and this is part of the reason why the tailor shop is so successful, I think, a lot of young men are looking for guidance.
yes.
And this is why you see 22-year-old YouTubers all of a sudden with wisdom about life. I'm sorry, you're in your 20s. What do you know about life?
What do you know about life?
What happened to listening to the village elder with a bit of grey in his beard? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's funny how a lot of people are looking for very young and inexperienced people for guidance. And I think I see that a lot in the shop. A lot of people are coming into the shop and I say, look, I can give you certain guidance.
Yeah.
You can find mentors that give you certain guidance. And again, even if you don't have faith, there is a certain book
Yeah.
that was written 1400 years ago that has more clear guidance, that is more relevant to today than ever before.
So true.
Have a look at that, friend. The amount of times I've said, and it's interesting, I think part of the reason why I am so lucky, I have so much barakah in my life, so much positive rizq, is because I've encouraged so many people. Just look, I'm not going to preach or push too much. People have to find it in their own way. But just saying, look, as a man who has attained a lot of success, which people look at and say, oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
I can tell you the single most fulfilling aspect of my last 5-10 years is not X amount of dollars or X amount of wins or X amount of experiences. Having found a book that has so much clear guidance, each time I read it, pretty much I'm like, mind blown.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's wild.
If you haven't read the Quran, get one. We'll send a free one to you.
There it is.
We'll go to One Message Foundation, click the link, we'll send you a free. We're not trying to make money off you.
Amazing.
In any language you need. And
Amazing.
I'll tell you this, if for nothing else, if you just read it to understand what is the final message of God, what is this book that has changed lives, like the gentleman sitting in front of me here, you should still read it. Every time I've picked up the Quran and I've read it, I've benefited something new from it.
100%.
Many times when I'm between decisions, where I don't know what to do, where I'm thinking like, should I do this, do that? I just open the Quran from anywhere and just read. And Allah will show that guidance through there. It's so beautiful. How many people are just lost today? Chasing women, chasing money, chasing a approval from other men that what you don't need.
Yeah, really.
When Allah, your creator, is good with you and you're good with your creator and you've got that spiritual bond, you don't need anybody else. I remember back in my old days, back when I used to deal with the cartels, we used to go down to Mexico and we'd see the cartel guys and they would have pallets of money. I mean, insane, they had some crazy things, they would have gold AKs, and like tigers. And I remember being a 16-year-old seeing these things. But I also remember looking at them and seeing how stressed they were all the time.
Haram money does not give fulfillment.
It does not.
I see it so clearly. Like, I know a lot of people who are pushing for money in any way they can get it. I'm like, careful, friend. You can get millions and millions in a dirty way. That's not. Trust me. I'm 42 now. I've seen enough life paths play out. The haram money is not going to benefit you, even if you think you want it. It's a real thing.
A lot of those guys I knew, we'd go down to Mexico. We'd see this guy. He'd be the head guy. He'd just have models and actresses at his disposal, everything you could imagine. And then you'd go back down to Mexico and be like, where is he? Oh, his own friend shot him.
Yeah, there it is.
Like, his own friend ratted on him and now he's in jail. Where's Chapo Guzman? Where's Escobar? Where Pablo Escobar? Look at their end.
Exactly.
In this world, they have a horrible life, and imagine the hereafter.
Yeah.
But you look at a person who earns in halal, that Allah gives good wealth to, you live a healthy life, you eat good food, you have a wife, if you want a second, third, whatever, that's within the halal and not going in the haram. You live, you have children, you have that bond with your children, you live a good, clean, healthy life, being the best version of yourself in this life, and then you were right with God.
Exactly.
You go to that next life and you got nothing to fear.
There it is.
You don't have to worry about the day of judgment because you lived your life well. So the day of judgment is quick for you. You go into that paradise for everlasting success. What's better than that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think for people who don't have faith, the concept of afterlife might be a bit difficult for them to comprehend. One thing I always like to say is, even in this life, in the dunya, in the physical world, if you're living in a clean way, making halal money, you will have a better life.
There you go.
And also one thing I've noticed too, that it was really interesting. Before reverting to Islam, I found, and one of the key reasons why I was brought to Islam, the men who I really respected, 15 years working in some pretty serious places in the Middle East, I'd find out after, like, that guy who I really respect, oh, he's very religious. That guy who I really respect, I'd find out later he's very religious. They wouldn't necessarily lead with it, but I'd find out later, again and again. And now that I've reverted to Islam, I've done some pretty large deals, some property deals, selling cars and things. And it is based on a handshake between two brothers who have accountability to something bigger than them.
Wow.
I've met guys once or twice, and then I've done a big deal, no contracts, nothing, large amounts of money, based on this is what's going to happen. He's a man of faith, I'm a man of faith. That cleanliness in respect and reliability and understanding, because we're all accountable to something higher, that's valuable. The cartels, they might have their gold AKs and their brothers around them, Not a single man can they fully trust the
Never.
way we can trust someone who's properly on the deen.
Never. And those cartels, I mean, I worked with them since I was 12, so I know a lot of them inside and out. I can guarantee you that the one they think is closest to them is the one that's going to be their end.
Ah, it's terrible. What a way to live, man.
Whether it's a bullet to the back of the head, or it's going to the feds and ratting on you, or, you know, having your own people take you out. It's because you don't have an accountability to a higher power.
Do whatever you want.
It's what you can get away with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, what you can take.
Yeah, so, you know, I knew this guy, and, you know, he was married, like I knew him. He's a Christian. I thought, you know, he went to Vegas, he did all kinds of things, came back and told me about it, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of a strange thing. Like, why would you lie and cheat and things like that? And he was like, well, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I told him, you know what, God sees you in Vegas and God sees you at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we don't believe in this double standard, you know. And this is...
It's amazing the way a lot of people will fool themselves, especially backed up by modern culture, to convince themselves that something they know in their heart is dirty and wrong and doesn't serve them. It's fine. It's wild, isn't it?
I'll tell you something interesting. When we talk about the afterlife, you've got a good point. A lot of people that don't have faith or don't have a religion or even have a weak faith, they have this hard time understanding how could there be a life after this, a life that's much longer, for everlasting, and you know, the plane of existence is different. But think about this. Every one of us here at a time was in the womb of our mother. Right?
Indeed.
Imagine, and right now, if there's a lady is pregnant, there's a fetus developing in there. Right now, if one of us was to go to that fetus and say, you know what, one day, few months from now, you're gonna leave this life. Everything you know is going to change. Right now you have liquids going through your lungs and you're being fed through this cord. That will no longer be. You're going to take food and put it in your mouth, and you're going to have this thing called teeth, and you're going to chew, and you're going to go and see others like you, and you're going to talk to them. It would blow that fetus's mind. They couldn't comprehend it. They'd be like, bro, all I know is this little bubble that I'm living in.
Yeah, wow.
All I see is just this liquid around me. That's all that exists. Nothing. There's no buildings. That doesn't exist because I haven't seen it.
And you'd be certain too, because you haven't seen it. Yeah.
See, you know how they say, like when you talk about God or heaven, they're like, if I haven't seen it, it doesn't exist. Well, that baby hasn't seen these buildings, hasn't seen this yacht, hasn't seen this beautiful river, ocean, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it does exist, right?
That's awesome.
And when you leave that life of 9 months and you come into this world, everything changes.
That's awesome.
But that doesn't mean that you no longer exist. You are still that same soul, that same being on a different plane. And this life will be as long as it will be, and it will end as it's meant to end. And you will go into a different existence. That is the life of the grave. And then you will be raised, and you'll be a different existence after that. But humans weren't meant to end, and that's why everything that we think about after death is always going to have a plan. Even if you go to somebody in a forest in the Amazon. I was in the forest in Indonesia. We met people that hadn't seen civilization.
Oh, wow.
You know, people that still walk around naked. You know, we gave them da'wah. A lot of them became Muslim. There's videos you can see.
Amazing.
But even them, they had this concept of life after death.
Interesting. It's
Right?
archetypal, huh?
Right?
There it is. Yeah.
Maybe not the correct, because obviously, you know, with tribal religion, it kind of goes with elders. But when we spoke to them about paradise and about hell and about these things, it resonated with them. Because in Islam, we believe we have a fitrah. We have a natural inclination towards what's right.
There it is.
You know, if you've seen that video, that little girl, when the parents are telling her about Jesus, and she's like, wait a minute, if Jesus is God, who was he praying to? You know, and the parents are like, because a child does have the belief there is a creator. You know, I went to when I was in college, I was a teacher's assistant. I was trying to, because I didn't take any loans, I was paying my own way.
Amazing.
And you would see little kids, like kindergarten kids, and I would be teaching them as an assistant in the school. And you would just, you know, say something and they'd be like, oh, God above. God sent this. God. Never did they say a monkey named, you know, Hanuman, or, you know, unless the parents teach them these kinds of false ideas, they will never be like, you know, a guy named Ram who's blue, you know.
With 6 heads or something.
Or, you know, no, Ravan has 10 heads.
Okay.
You know the story? All right, I'm going to tell you the story, right? Because as manly men, or people who want to live by the natural indication of a man should be, I think Hinduism's never an option. And I'll tell you why. I'm not being biased. I studied it
Okay.
before I chose Islam.
Okay.
Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
So there is this concept of a guy named Ram. Right? Ram is a god. You know, Hari Ram, right? They talk about Ya Ram, Ram. All right. Ram has a wife named Sita.
Yeah.
Right? And Sita is a goddess. All right?
Okay.
God, goddess, power couple. I got you.
Okay.
So far we're good. Ram goes out and he tells Sita, don't leave the house. I don't want you going outside.
Okay.
Right? So far, based. I'm good with it, right? He goes out and this guy named Ravan,
Okay.
who is from Sri Lanka, and he's an evil god or something like that. The dude has 10 heads. All right. How do you walk around with 10 heads, right? like just think about it. Like as a mythology, I can appreciate it. You know, as a myth, you know, when you talk about Zeus and all that, that's cool, right? Yeah. But if you mean that you really believe a dude was walking around with 10 heads and nobody noticed, like, come on, right? How many necks did he have?
I mean, and how did he sustain all those heads if he wasn't able to eat steak?
So this guy,
confusing, man.
he comes and he tempts Sita to come out.
Okay.
And she's a goddess, but she comes out and he kidnaps her.
Okay.
All right. Now the story gets interesting, right?
There's
now,
more?
There's more. No, this is the beginning. So he kidnaps her, takes her to Sri Lanka,
Okay.
to the island kingdom, right? Ram comes home, God, now the billah, but you know, people pray to him, Ram, that's like one of their main avatars, right?
Okay.
He comes home, where's my wife? Yo, your wife got kidnapped. So what does he do? Like you know, any man would be like, let me go get my weaponry, but you know, nobody's gonna touch my wife. I'm a Muslim. You look at my wife wrong, we're gonna have problems, right? I'm Pashtun. We got guns. You know, we roll like that, right? So he comes home. He's like, how am I gonna get my wife? He's too powerful.
What?
So he can't free his wife, even though he's God. He has to get help from monkeys.
Sorry, what?
From monkeys. Wallahi, I'm not kidding. Go Google it. Look it up. Hanuman, the monkey god, with a monkey army. You know, I think Mario got this plot from the Hindu religion. You know, when you go to Donkey Kong or whatever to get help, you know, in the new Mario movie.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm going to stick with La ilaha illallah. Thank you very much.
That's it.
A bit less confusing.
A God that's all powerful, all seeing, all capable, not a man, not a woman, not somebody who has a wife and kids, not somebody who can't do something, you know?
There it is.
So this guy, Ram, then has to wait 1 year. 1 year, the dude is doing whatever he's doing with his wife, because obviously he didn't take her to Sri Lanka to pray with her, right? And then with the monkey army, he frees her. And then he's like, Lord, I can't be with you anymore because I don't know what happened on that island, you know, right?
This is real?
This is real. Yeah, look it up. I mean, I studied it, Mahabharata, Gita. You look up the Puranas, Ram, Sita, Ravan.
And this is actually believed, like genuinely believed.
I have a hard time believing that people actually believe that this is true.
Wow.
But that's what they say. I read this, I was like, I can't be Hindu. Oh, I'm done with that one, you know. You know, like in Islam, we don't believe in being punks either. We don't believe in being weak. You know, this idea of turn the other cheek, I don't believe in it.
No.
I don't think anybody believes in it.
No, I don't think it's natural.
Because I was in the UK, I was in Aylesbury, and we were doing some da'wah, and some guy came, and you can see the video, it's on One Message Foundation.
Okay.
This guy comes up, and he's like, he tries to debate, and now he's falling apart, and he's a Christian apologist, and then you have a man of the Jewish faith come up, and this Jewish man was very interesting. He came in the middle of the debate, and he tells the Christian man, he goes, I don't know why you're debating with this man. He's talking about me. He's a monotheist. He says he believes in one God. You believe in multiple gods. And he tells them, look, Judaism was the true faith of Jesus, and you guys are just a offshoot, right? So he jumps in the middle of this. So the Christian guy, trying to get him on his side, tells him, Muslims are violent, and us Christians and Jews, we believe in turning the other cheek, right? I was like, hold on. So you believe somebody slaps you, you're going to turn the other cheek. He's like, yes, that's what we believe. I said, all right, let me slap you right now. Like, I'm not trying to be violent. I'm not trying to be rude. All I want to do is help you prove your point.
Yeah.
I'm going to volunteer my services. Like a MMA or a boxing match. We're going to...
power slap, it's a sport now.
Right. Power slap, there you go. I'm going to power slap the living daylights out of you. And I want to see you live by what you're saying. Turn the other cheek so I can backhand you then. I don't know which other cheek you're going to turn after that.
And also, what's your wife going to think after watching this? I mean, let's be
What wife?
Exactly. That's what I like about Islam. It just makes sense. biologically, social dynamics. It just makes sense.
Allah tells the Quran that if your enemy inclines towards peace, incline towards peace. We make treaties, we live in peace. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, went into Medina. He made a peace treaty with all the people of Medina. Jews, pagans. He said, look, we defend Medina together. Right? Live peacefully together. Great. But if you're going to come and try to take my manlyhood, if you're going to try to violate me as a man, touch my wife, my daughter, my kids, my family, I'm going to defend them.
100%.
You know, there was I studied every religion that I could to the best of my ability before I chose Islam.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So,
I could say similar. I went deep down the Buddhist rabbit hole.
Right.
I was 12 years Catholic schooling.
there you
I
go.
didn't look into Judaism, to be honest, because it's just, to me, it's...
I did.
Okay,
So
wow.
I went to a place called...
I just found it too complex to get my head around, to be
I
honest.
went to a place called Temple Bethel in San Diego, right?
Okay.
It's a synagogue.
Okay.
I was 18, right? I went to them. I said, hey, you know what? I wanna study about, maybe I want to be a Jew. I want to study about Judaism. They were like, nah,
Oh, really?
you're good.
I've heard about that, so yeah, it's not exactly welcoming.
They were like, you're okay.
Yeah.
I was like, no, they're like, here's a pamphlet about the Holocaust and about, I was like, no, I want to know about your faith. Like, maybe I want to become Jewish.
Yeah.
They were like, nah, we're a cursed people. You don't want to be a part of this.
Really?
They like that. They just told me, they were like, nah, we don't want you to be Jewish.
Interesting. Yeah, I did not find it to be accessible. I wanted I wanted to learn about it, and I asked some Jewish friends about it, and there was just sort of a coyness about it. Yeah.
I kind of find it a little racist too.
Yeah. Okay.
Like God's people. Like you're white, you're Caucasian, right? I'm Pashtun, but we're both Muslim and we're equal,
100%.
right? There's Arabs on this yacht right now. There's people who are Kurdish. We have people who are different races, but we're all equal in front of God.
Of course. Yeah.
Like I don't think Arabs are any better. Like the Prophet told us, the Arab is no better than the non-Arab, the white or the black. Only whoever is more pious is closer to God.
Exactly. There it is.
I don't think God has a chosen people, right? Because if you are born from a certain womb, that doesn't make you any more pious than anybody else.
Doesn't make you a good human. That comes down to your conduct.
Right?
Yeah.
Even if you look at Ben Israel or the children of Israel in the old days, when Moses was dealing with them, a lot of them betrayed Moses. A lot of them went and worshipped the golden calf. How is that God's people, right? And if somebody from the Pharaoh's people became a believer in Moses, why would he be any different?
Yeah.
You know?
There it is.
So
yeah.
I just, Buddhism, like I studied Buddhism, the author in Suzuki. I read a lot of it, not the car. I like, first when you read about Buddhism, it sounds good, be a good person, don't hurt anybody. But then I got to a chapter about how you couldn't stop violence by violence.
Yeah, I had the same issue. And seeing what happened to the Tibetan people, I'm just like...
the Dalai Lama is out there having tea with the queen, and his people got slaughtered, and they couldn't even defend themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this author, Suzuki, said, look, if a man breaks into your house and is about to rape your wife or kill your mom, meditate. Meditate. I was like, meditate? I'm going to clack, man. I'm a man. I'm not going to how could you live with yourself?
Wow. And to me, again, it just doesn't match with reality. And then that's above all else. I think the thing that I am most amazed by again and again with Islam is how clearly it matches the reality of life. It's the opposite of, say, ideological, leftist, weird. It's based, it's sensible, it takes into account male biology, female biology, tribal dynamics. Like it's just matching with the reality of the world we live in, matching with the human condition.
See,
other religions don't really do that.
It's the religion that is revealed by the creator of man. So of course it's going to match with how men, women, humans are because the creator made it. Like if I have an Apple phone or a Samsung, Apple will know best how an Apple phone works, not Samsung. Samsung will know best how a Samsung works, not Apple. Yeah. So if I want to get instructions on how to use an iPhone, I need to follow Apple's instruction, not come up with my own or ask you or anybody else because we didn't make it, right? Indeed. God that created us tells us, look, don't pollute your body. Don't put drugs and alcohol and things into your body because not that it hurts God, but this is going to hurt you. Yeah. It's going to hurt your energy. It's going to hurt your body. It's going to hurt your spirituality. So when you live by that, then you know that you're living by the way that you were meant to live, and you'll be the best version of yourself.
There it is.
Even how polygamy, how marriage, how man's rights and women's rights, we don't need red pill and we don't need feminism. We need the middle path that the Creator showed us.
There it is.
What's a man's rights? Look at what God
Yep,
said.
yep.
What's a woman's rights? Look at what God said. What is the rights of a child or a parent? Look at what God said. That's it.
Clear.
Otherwise, you look at America and you look at the nonsense in Europe, and you know,
Look at the unfulfilled relationship dynamics, which then lead to messed up children, which then leads to messed up society. Like it's
leads
it's
to
so lost.
school shootings
Yeah.
and all these kinds
So
of things.
lost, yeah.
Nobody realizes a lot of these things are based on people or being carried out by people that have been ruined in their mindset about whether they're women or men or humans or
It's
cats.
a lot of that. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was at Balboa Park giving dawah. There was a whole group of what they call furries. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know what
I've
it
heard about
was.
this,
I didn't know what it. I just saw a bunch of people dressed up like cats, and I thought it was like, you know, it's like a Halloween thing, but it's not October. I thought maybe it was like a Comic-Con going on. No, they were like, we're cats, and you need to address me as a cat. And if you don't call me a cat, you're offending me.
Oh, that's awesome.
What the heck?
Oh, that's
They were out in Balboa Park peeing on gravel, and they say you can't say anything to me because I'm a cat.
amazing, amazing.
What is wrong with people nowadays? You know? If you don't know your gender, I know it's a big problem in America, and I get canceled all the time for this stuff. I have the solution. Go to the bathroom, check, plus you're done.
Easy, move on. I think a lot of the time it's just, I mean, my 10-year-old daughter, bless her, she's in Sweden. And even at her age, in her school, there are a lot of people who are identifying as this or that and the other.
Yeah, crazy.
Even her, as a 10-year-old, she said, Dad, I think they just want to feel special somehow.
That's it.
That's what it is. It's an attention play.
A 10-year-old is able to
Yeah.
to dig through all of this. People want attention.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's many people that now, just for attention, they go on these online memes and online platforms and say these things just so people can react, and they get their 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And it's pathetic because they don't, you know what, it all gets back to what you said earlier. They don't have that spiritual fulfillment.
Yeah, that grounding, that
When you put your head on the
fulfillment.
ground
Yep.
and you're closest to your creator and you feel that you and your creator are having a conversation, you don't need anybody else's attention.
I approach what I'd say, I mean, yeah, I'll say it is a blissful state, often in sujood, often. Actual bliss. No, I've never done drugs, but, you know, no drugs required.
Yeah.
I don't chase hedonistic, whatever, this and that. You don't need it.
No.
There is a path there. It takes some effort, and it takes some learning and some discipline. But there is a path there to get blissful states on a daily basis. Like, prayer is not an obligation. It's an absolute blessing that's been given to us.
It is.
And it is a channel with which you can unlock feelings of calm and security and connection and grounded fulfillment without a single need for a nightclub or you know,
or a pipe
or any of that nonsense.
drink.
You can get high states simply by following that which every Muslim knows is the way we should be living anyway.
So
It's quite
true.
remarkable.
You know, they say you can't get off heroin. They say it's impossible. I mean, many doctors said once you're hooked, it's like a death sentence.
That's scary.
But
yeah.
I know a brother in San Diego who, before Islam, he was homeless, heroin addict. Became Muslim, alhamdulillah, he kicked the habit,
Alhamdulillah.
he cleaned up his life,
Wow.
he learned Arabic, you know,
Wow.
like somebody who, you know, had a very rough childhood. His mother used to do drugs when she was pregnant with him. His stepfather was abusive and a drunk and alcohol, people don't realize how it affects not just the person, but the community and the people around them.
Yeah, I've seen it, especially in a lot of veterans, a lot of people in the veteran community. The way they deal with their demons is drink,
Yeah.
and it ruins families. It ruins them.
Yeah.
Like it's sad to see, man. Really, it's
So
sad to
this
see.
brother, one day I was talking to him. I told him, you know, how difficult was it? Because I've never done heroin, alhamdulillah. And, you know, but I heard it's very physically, like, it's not just like a mental addiction.
Yeah, it's a
your
physical
body
addiction,
goes through these withdrawals. And he said, you know, nothing would calm my body except salah.
Oh wow, isn't that cool?
He said, I would lock myself in a room because he would be going crazy.
Yeah.
He said, my body would be shaking. I would feel like it's being ripped apart. He said, but when I put my head down in sujood,
There
I
it
would
is.
feel at peace.
SubhanAllah, isn't that amazing?
That's beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? It's a beautiful thing.
This podcast, man, it is interesting. Fun stuff, huh? I got a question though. Some of us don't have yachts, but we still have a good amount of wealth. How do we maintain that wealth and ensure that it appreciates in a halal and Islamic way?
Alhamdulillah, so we got our brother, Dr. Maz, who was a dentist, who's making great money on his own. He already had it all laid out.
but he realized that if you don't work, you don't get paid. Even if you're a doctor, even if you're a dentist, you're kind of tied to that. And he's going to teach you how to invest your wealth. You got to have 80K plus already. You got to have an income that's coming in of 80K. But he doesn't want to just make money himself. He wants to grow the ummah. So check out the link below. Check out Dr. Maz and benefit from this amazing program that can help you be financially stable with the money that you just got sitting around.
SubhanAllah. Back to the yacht.
So how's Brother Tate doing? I know, mashallah, you're...
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny. A lot of people ask me often how Tate's doing. And I always say, not only is he okay, I think he might enjoy this whole thing. No, really. Because he hasn't had the opportunity to be in the Middle East long as a Muslim. He hasn't had the opportunity to go to a masjid and so on. But he still has a strong belief in the fact that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Like, that's very clear. Even 5-6 years ago, he and I were talking about Islam, even longer, 2018, 2019. We're talking about Islam and the fact that it's the only way to save the West. The fact that the only way to save civilization is something as clear and firm and principled as Islam. So everyone's saying, oh, why would he choose Islam? He did it to be cool online. He was already cool online.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he gained any popularity from that. He was already popular. So.
Exactly, but also it was always going to happen because even back in 2019, if not 2018, we were discussing Islam.
Wow.
Even back then. And he said, you know what, of all religions, that's the one that is the most powerful and the most likely to defeat evil. So even back then he was thinking these things. So I'm very much looking forward to him getting out of his current day-to-day combat state and being around, you know, being around the faith, being around brothers on the deen.
Inshallah, we'd like to open up an invitation to go for Umrah with us.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
As a gift for our brother and a better environment to be in, to be able to get better advice and a better group of company to be with. Definitely. Good brothers like yourself.
Love to be
Inshallah, this Ramadan, we're planning in the end of Ramadan to take a Umrah group with a lot of influencers and stuff, and just to give them a, you know how beautiful it is when you see the Mecca and Medina and the spiritual energy that is there.
I'd love to join if I can, man.
Khalas, you're invited. You're on the trip, inshallah.
Thank you so much.
Allah, when I see brothers like yourself that came from a world that would have usually led a person into a very worldly kind of lifestyle, sitting with heads of states and stuff, but then finding that spiritual path, we think Allah has blessed you with something amazing. It
is amazing. And I can say, I mean, look, I think the benefit of being a revert is that I've lived without Islam and I've lived with Islam. So I'm acutely aware of how powerful that difference is. And I've had it all, man. I've done the yachts, I've done the jets, I've been around leaders, billionaires. With my former line of work, I was consulting to some big players. Still am in certain ways. I can genuinely say true fulfillment comes from, sorry to everyone who's chasing 25-year-old YouTube advice, it does not come from cash or from toys or from status.
No.
Don't get me wrong, having enough means to look after your people is real.
Of course.
I get more fulfillment looking after my people than any new Ferrari or anything.
That's beautiful.
I mean, I'm selling more Ferraris than I'm buying lately. But having gone through the whole, really into the dunya, the status, the cars, all this sort of stuff, and having to then found myself backing away from that, not consciously, just through realizing there is more fulfillment just from putting my head on the ground and being around people with clean energies, being around environments with high frequency people, I can say with conviction, everyone who's chasing the cash to get the status and the stuff and the toys, you will come, I mean, may you get what you're seeking, sure, but you'll come to a point where you realize it's all overblown, it's all overhyped. Real fulfillment is not a new car. Tate said this the other day. He said, I will get more satisfaction from a good workout with my brothers than I will buying a new $2 million car rocking up.
Wow.
It's junk. The physical world is junk. Yes, there's a buzz, but the buzz will fade. At one point I had well over $1 million worth of watches and I just wasn't wearing watches. It didn't hit me anymore because I found something better. So I really do hope the youth especially see through this push for stuff and status and physical world pursuits. Yes, get your money right to look after your people, but you will get greater fulfillment from everything that is not material attachment and chasing the status, chasing the likes on Instagram. It's all junk. It's all junk, man, really. I've seen it again and again.
That's beautiful advice. And I really hope people take heed to that, because you will improve yourself on so many levels with that kind of advice, right?
You just be a more fulfilled person.
I mean, even as a Muslim, you're living a great life.
Oh, 100%. I'm living a better life now, man.
Yeah, I mean, financially, you're well off. I mean, you have a good family life, alhamdulillah, you're a good father, a much better role model than you would have been before.
I think so, definitely. Yeah.
And at the same time, you've got that spiritual wealth that nobody else has.
And I think also, thank you, Sheikh, I feel very blessed. I think a lot of people in my position financially, the hedonism creeps in. Because if you don't need to work for money, oh, just go to a beach club, or maybe, do this, do that. With Islam, I can say no to all of that with such conviction that it's not even an option.
Yes.
And I think it's good. I think humans can do with some guidelines.
Yes.
Because if I don't have accountability and I've got more money than I can spend, why not engage in hedonism?
Well-
Why not go and do things that I know is destructive, but everyone else is doing it? Now I can say, sorry, all my friends know, don't invite me to nightclubs. I'm not going.
I'm not going.
Don't invite me to parties. I don't want to be around that energy.
But-
Having that guidance is so useful.
Even the 5-time prayers helps me stay on point.
For sure.
I know I got to wake up for Fajr. So I'm not just going to be out all night doing something crazy because I know I got Fajr. I got Dhuhr. Even in the UAE, for example, a lot of times when we have meetings, it's all around prayer times.
Yep.
Hey, let's meet up after Dhuhr.
There it is.
We'll do that after Asr. After Maghrib, we'll do this. So it structures your day. It structures your life.
And humans need that structure.
We
We
do.
need to move. We need
No
to do.
doubt.
Where things go wrong with the human mind is where you can just sit and reflect and overthink or chase dopamine. By having to get up regularly and go and do something, it involves what is essentially positive mantras.
Yes.
What is prayer if not clear mantras about gratitude,
so
about
true.
accountability, about watching out for evil? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. It's important to say
beautiful is
these
that?
things.
Yeah.
And to say them regularly, we are programming our minds
That's true.
to stay effective humans. You don't have time to be lazy and depressed if you need to follow certain obligations, healthy obligations throughout the day.
If you even think about what you said, that if you haven't, because you've seen that Jahiliyyah, you appreciate Islam, right? Umar Radiyan said that. He said, whoever hasn't seen the ignorance of Jahiliyyah, they don't truly appreciate Iman, right? For us that came from lifestyles that people can't even imagine on average, right? Of the evil that we have seen and the worldly life that we've seen, man, I'm telling you, I am so happy being a Muslim.
No, same.
I
Just
am
genuinely fulfilled.
So, in every which way.
Exactly.
Financially, I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Haters can hate all they want, right? I mean, alhamdulillah, I eat well. I used to be a VP, even after Islam. I used to be a VP at a medical device company. For da'wah, I left it. I started doing consulting. Subhanallah, even though I work 1/10 the time I used to work throughout the year, because I used to work 60-hour weeks as an executive,
Yep, as you do.
I make the same and I live the same lifestyle.
Isn't that interesting?
Because that was my risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
there it is.
because I dedicated more time for the sake of Allah, Allah made my risk easy for me.
Isn't that
I got
amazing?
my sustenance easier.
Amazing. Isn't that beautiful? And I can say similar too. I spend a lot less time on what I'd consider work, but I'm making more money. It's
Yeah.
because my intent has changed.
The
Really.
tailor shop's definitely not work, man.
No,
That's
it's
a fun
not,
place.
to be honest, it's not profit either. To be honest, but I mean, yeah, at some point it'll make a profit. But the other thing I'd like to say too is, I mean, your background's pretty amazing. Where you started and where you are now. I can say the same. I started as a soldier in infantry.
Yeah.
You know, pumped up soldier. And
Yeah.
When I was going through infantry school, 9/11 happened. So I won't say that Muslims were the enemy, but they were definitely like the boogeyman.
Yeah.
That was what everyone was scared
For
of.
sure.
And then I went into the intelligence community where you must think a certain way or you'll lose your security clearance. And
Yes.
again, who was the number one enemy?
Muslims.
So for
Yeah.
me to go from someone whose career was watch out for Muslims, it's a scary religion, you know, there's all these bad things attached to it, all these negative perceptions, to then spend 15 years in the Middle East and little by little lose that negative perception and little by little start to think, hang on, there's value here, there's insights here. My beliefs as a man, my traditional values, not only are respected within Islam, they are codified and they are written clearly so that I can live the way I want to live even better.
Yes.
So if I can go from being someone in a Western military who views the Middle East as a scary place and Muslims as potentially the boogeyman,
The enemy.
to then accepting Islam, there must be something there. Now look, I consider myself a rational person. I'm educated to a master's degree level. I speak numerous languages. I've been to almost 100 countries. Again, if I can go from essentially buying into the programming that Islam is dangerous and Muslims are dangerous to then wanting to become one, there's some value there. There's something there.
See, and I think that's a beautiful point, that why is that programming there? Because as our brother Tate said before as well, and others, that knowing that Islam is the only solution to the satanic, leftist,
Yep.
woke, whatever you want to call
It's the
it,
only
you know,
one.
destroying of family values agenda, knowing that Islam is the only resistance. Today, Christianity is folded. You look at the Pope, you look at most Methodist church, the major Methodist church right now, huge rainbow flags on them. I was in New York, I saw this classic, brick, old, historic church, huge rainbow flags on them, right? It's not just rainbow, they got like triangles and brown and orange and
They
pink.
can't even keep up with their
I
flag,
don't know what
man.
all this stands for. LGBT.
No one knows. It changes every week.
Right, I don't know. right? And then you look at Hinduism, you look at otherism, everybody's folding. You got Modi out there trying to kiss up to, this and that.
Yeah.
But Muslims stand firm. We are the only ones holding the line. And that's why a lot of these powers that be that want to enslave us with riba, with interest, with Hollywood and brainwashing.
And also to affect women with feminism.
Exactly.
To rob them of fulfillment.
Right.
That's what show me a happy feminist. Show me a feminist in a relationship that has a healthy polarity and good levels of intimacy and mutual respect. Right. I haven't seen one.
Me
ever.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And that's the whole, I don't even know what feminist is anymore. I mean, like the whole trans thing kind of
True.
threw that apart, because now a woman who is biologically a man but claims to be a woman, but is playing sports with women,
can beat women up.
No, who am I going to root for?
It's very confusing.
Are we saying feminism now is for that biological female to be given a chance against biological males, or are we saying that trans female who's actually a biological man we let them dominate female?
Man, it's bizarre. The left will always eat itself. The left just doesn't make sense. It'll always eat itself.
I don't waste my time with it. But it is a good point that many of you that may be afraid to learn about Islam, somebody's trying to keep you away from it.
100%. The Hollywood machine, everything. It's so clear.
You see in Europe right now, a man came and attacked a Christmas marketplace. And immediately Mr. Musk and everybody, tweeting about Muslims. Turns out he's Islamophobe. He hated Islam. Nobody came and said, hey, you know what? Never mind, right? We just had a man in Florida shoot 2 people in a car.
I saw that one. That's crazy.
You saw that?
That's crazy.
Thinking they're Palestinians, right?
Yeah.
And when it turned out that this man is a terrorist, the news article said, was this terrorism? And then it's like, no ties found to the Middle East, so it's not terrorism. Like, how does that make sense?
Interesting.
Were people terrorized? Were you afraid? Like, I hate this news line. Is it terrorism? What does that mean?
It's
because they want you to think of Islam as the enemy or as something foreign, even though it fits your natural dispositions.
And on that as well, I think if the name of the game to keep the masses controlled is to keep them scared, have no attachment to God, keep them easily led, Islam is the ultimate way to give a man and a woman in their heart real fulfillment.
Right.
I don't need a government to tell me what to do.
Exactly.
I don't need anything outside of my faith to tell me what to do, because I have it. I have real fulfillment. I don't need to go and get the latest iPhone to make sure the cover matches the color of my personality, because I have something deeper. I have real fulfillment.
Right.
That's part of the reason I think why Islam is pushed down, even if we look materially.
100%.
As someone who I had over a dozen cars at one point, and over $1 million in watches, I've now gotten rid of most of that because I found a deeper level of fulfillment being Islam. The economic powers that be don't want. Imagine if everyone did that on the planet. There'd be a massive economic slump.
It would.
Imagine if everyone started rejecting riba. There'd be a massive economic slump.
I mean, housing would be a lot more affordable, but those bankers wouldn't be making the billions they're making, right?
There it is. So I think there's many reasons, both politically and in terms, governing the people and economically, why a lot of powers that be want to push down Islam. I also think, in terms of genuine, I wouldn't call it anti-feminism. Let's say traditional values.
Right.
Which is actually what leads to fulfillment.
Right.
Why was feminism brought in? We know it's because get the women into the workplace so they can be taxed, get the children in the schools so they can be indoctrinated by the state, and also create that division such that the man is now a self-regulating citizen. Or, as Tate says, I would go and protest, but I have to be home by 9 or the wife will be angry. A lot of men nowadays, they
I got a clock into work by this time, I can't make my payments.
Exactly, they're self-regulating citizens. Islam can counter all of that.
Yes.
Because it gives you a way to live that speaks directly and logically and clearly against all of that modern junk.
See,
that's why the people
just
don't
think
want
about one last thing, right? If the whole world went LGBT, humanity would cease to exist.
There it is.
I know people don't want to hear that, but that's reality. If the whole world became priests, humanity would cease to exist.
Interesting.
If the whole world became monks, the humanity would cease to exist. But if the whole world became the most pious Muslims, we would have a perfect, wonderful society that would still function. We'd still have kids. We'd still have families. We'd still have people working.
And people would be more fulfilled than those who are engaging on this modern day culture, hedonism nonsense. The people would actually be more happy as humans.
It's a beautiful conversation. Really appreciate it.
We got rained on in Dubai. What a blessing.
We did. And it's beautiful.
It's actually quite refreshing. It's been nice.
Yeah, it is.
Amazing.
It is, man. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Sheikh. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair.
أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين